not even mean Bowers game for me.
Hi there, YouTube. I'm back again today for another game review and a special expansion review. And today I'm very excited to check out Aeons and the Void from Action Phase Games and Indie Board and Cards. This is for 1 to 4 players. Take about 60 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 plus. And in Aeons and the Void, this is an expansion, a small box expansion to my favorite deck builder of all time, Aeons, and it's going to add 2 new bad guys, 2 new good guys, new cards, new relics, new spells, and hopefully it is fantastic. Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're getting inside of Aeons and the Void. So, there's no rule booklet here. This is an expansion where you should know how to do everything in the game if you've played Aeons and before. So, let's take a look at what you're going to get. So, first we got the 2 new bad guys. We got Knights of Shackles. He's very straightforward. I actually think he's a really good one, potentially for people's first go at the game, even though he's very difficult. So, we're going to start with 70 health, but the big thing here is that he's going to have his own breach board right here. And various different things are going to cause him to turn his breach. Whenever he unleashes, he's going to turn his lowest breach. A lot of his bad guys and events are going to cause him to turn his breaches, and once a breach gets opened, a bad thing is going to happen to you. So when open, 2 different players each suffer 2 damage. This one's bad. When open, place the most recently discarded minion in the nemesis discard pile back into play. You get to ignore its persistent effect, but if that's one that has a lot of health, that's a big problem right there. You get to 3. This one's going to do 7 damage to Gravehold, and this one, everybody loses the game immediately. Gravehold has been overcome. And he's very straightforward, very simple. He's just trying to not get the breaches to turn. Now, you also can pay your money to unturn the breaches, so you can turn them counterclockwise, which will buy you some more time. So pretty straightforward the Knights of Shackle is. Now, not nearly as straightforward, we have the Maiden of Thorns, who might be the most complex villain that we've had yet. So there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to do during setup. So you have to have at least 5 different supply piles with 5 different costs. You're going to have to destroy 2 cards in each of the gem supply pile, and you're going to have these tokens. So how this works is, this token right here, which says player or Gravehold, is going to start on the lowest cost of the cards that you have out at the end of the buy row. Now, whenever you unleash, he's going to gain 1 Nemesis token. At the end of the Nemesis turn, if he has 2 or more tokens, then either Gravehold or the player are going to take some damage depending on which side of the token it is. And there's a buzzword here, which is advance, which means that you flip this over. So you're going to be flipping this over pretty consistently, which means Gravehold's going to be taking damage, players are going to be taking damage. But also, as you progress to Tier 2 and Tier 3, it's going to get even worse as you are going to be taking more damage as you progress. So yeah, it also has to deal with how many cards are in the pile. I'll just read it to you. At the end of the Nemesis turn, if Maiden of Thorns has 2 or more Nemesis tokens, it impales the player or Gravehold. They suffer damage equal to the number of cards in that supply pile. So you want to purchase those cards, but here's the thing. If you purchase all the cards, then you lose the game immediately. And he has some really bad dudes in his deck, which will delete entire stacks of cards. So he is a very difficult one. He starts with 80 health. This one, we lost to him twice. He is really stinking difficult. So I do like both the introductions. This one is definitely more of an advanced one, and I wish they kind of would mark, if it's better for beginners or medium or advanced, just because of the setup required. But let's talk about the new cards in the game. So next, I'm a little bit disappointed. You only get 1 gem, but it is a pretty sweet gem. The Fossilized Scarab, gain $2 or destroy a card in your hands. This one's going to give you a little bit of versatility to allow you to trash or gain money, so that's kind of nice. Plus, it's pretty cheap, and that's one thing you'll notice about some of the cards in here. They're pretty cheap cards. We have the Dimensional Key, not a cheap card, but a very interesting, diverse card. Any ally draws 2 cards, or destroy this. Suffer 1 damage, place a card in play from the Nemesis deck on top of the Nemesis deck. So this one really, it's a very situational card for this ability down here. But it can really save you in a pinch, especially if one of their persistent special abilities. Say, for instance, it's the Knights of Shackles, and you got this big 18 dude, because there is oh man, I hate this guy so freaking much. This guy right here, which will not allow you to rotate his breaches. So you definitely might want to take the damage and just say, you know what, you can go back on top of the Nemesis deck, we'll deal with you later. So next we have Resonate, deal 4 damage. If there are 6 or more other cards in your discard pile, deal 3 additional damage. Very situational card. I probably would not buy that one too terribly often, because I'm all all about thinning my deck, but everybody has different strategies. The Inner Fire, I like this one. Deal 1 damage. The Nemesis tier or 2 or higher, deal 1 additional damage. So this one is dirt cheap. It's a nice one to replace your initial spell with. Put these in there. Very, very cheap. 5. Fulminate. While prepped, other spells you cast deal 1 additional damage. 2 spells with Link may be prepped at the same time in a breach. If you link it, you're going to be able to deal 3 damage. We have Thermal Dart, deal 3 damage. If this is not the first Thermal Dart you have cast this turn, gain 1 charge. I really like the Thermal Dart. You can kind of just stack up a whole bunch, and you can gain charges up the wazoo, assuming you have enough spots open to do it. We have the Eternity Charm, which is this is my favorite one in the entire deck. In this entire expansion, I should say. Focus your closed breach with the lowest focus cost. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may prep one of the revealed spells. That is stinking huge. Being able to get those 2 cards and get a spell, very, very good card. Also, it allows you to focus your breaches. Last, we have Conflagration. Deal 2 damage, gain 1. Also, it has Link on there. So those are the cards. But my favorite aspect of this expansion was without a doubt the 2 new characters. And I love both of these 2 new characters. So first we're going to talk about Sparrow. She is really stinking cool. She's a support character. What she's going to do is focus any player's breach and then repeat this 3 additional times. So you are going to be opening people's breach all day. We're going to be doing this. It's going to cost you 5 charges. Or, and this is the secondary ability, you'll use it later in the game, any ally with no closed breaches draws 3 cards and then preps up 3 spells from their hand. So you're going to be able to draw 3 cards, then prep 3 spells. That is stinking huge for late game stuff, especially if you got people who have all their... So she's going to be focusing on opening those breaches early and then getting those spells in there late. Really like Sparrow. I think she's a really interesting character. The spell, and she's got Smolder, this is her special card. The spell may be prepped to a closed breach without focusing it, and you deal 1 damage. So there you go. So that's a pretty versatile card. You can just put it over here, cast it whenever you want. Now, Pyre, though, I think is Zazu, that guy. I think it's a guy. This person is my favorite, though. He is just a jack of all trades. He's scattershot. He doesn't know what he's doing, and that's kind of like me, so I like it. So he has 4 charge, which is pretty cheap. Any ally gains 1 charge and discards a random card in hand. Focus one of your breaches, gain 1 life, destroy a card in your hand, or discard pile. So he's going to trash. He is going to heal. He is going to allow other people to gain charges. Granted, they have to discard a card, and he gets to focus one of his breaches. So he just does a whole bunch of various different things, and I love it. I really like him. I think he's a really cool character. Not so hot on his card, though. Pyre, deal 1 damage. Any ally may discard a card in hand. If they do, deal 2 additional damage. It's good and it's situational and probably work from time to time. It did work, actually, from time to time, especially on the smaller monsters, on levels 1 and 2. But I'm just not a fan of that starting card. But that is what you're going to get inside of Aeons and the Void. Alright then, Aeons and the Void from Indie Board and Cards and Action Phase Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 1 for players, restricted player count, pretty much all the cons that you have with Aeon's End. If you do not like Aeon's End, this expansion will not change your mind. It does not do enough new. There's not even a rule booklet in here because there's no real new mechanisms added to the game. Yes, each of the new bad guys has their own unique sort of quirks and mechanisms, but for the most part, this is the same game of Aeon's End. So if you don't like Aeon's End, then get out of here. This video is not for you. Now, moving on to actual brass tacks here. If you do like/love Aeon's End and you're slowly collecting and getting all the different expansions, I will tell you that this is my least favorite of the 4 small box expansions that is coming out so far. And that's more of a testament to how great those other 3 expansions are, as opposed to how bad, quote unquote, this expansion is. I'm just saying I like the other 3 better than this one. I'll tell you why right now, obviously, because that's that part of the video that I do that. So first and foremost, the cards. The cards in this did not wow me. Like normally when I bust open one of these small box expansions, I'm like, oh man, I want to play with that card. I can't wait to play with that card, and that card, and that card, and that card. And there's like 5 or 6 cards. I'm like, that's super cool. And this one I was just like, there's like 2 or 3 that I'm really excited to play with, but the rest, when they're out there, I'm probably not going to buy them unless I have to buy them, which is a little bit of a bummer. Also, there's only 1 gem in this one, and the gems are without a doubt one of my favorite aspects of those games. It's not just money. It has some cool, special, awesome ability. In this one, you get 1 gem, and it's a cool gem. I like the gem. I like the concept of the gem, but I wanted more gems. Also on the con side, the Maiden of Thorns was just a little bit too fidgety. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Maiden of Thorns because there's a lot of stuff you have to do before setup, and then you have to remember to flip these tokens and then do the song and dance. That's more of a nitpick than anything. But really, it's just the setup. It's like, all right, so we can't just randomize. We have to make sure that there's 5 different cost out there. And then we also have to remember to take 2 out of the different piles, and then we also have to remember that once we get to tier 2, we're going to switch to this token. Once we get to tier 3, we're going to switch to that token. Then we have to remember that advance means to do this, and then we also, if we ever run out of cards completely, then we're going to lose the game, all the cards in the Biro, and I really don't like that either, because, and that's more of a personal thing. Obviously, it makes the game more difficult, which is great, but I'm just saying the Maiden of Thorns was a little bit more fidgety and high maintenance than I would have liked. And that's a nitpick. Because moving on to the pros, I still think this is a good expansion. I recommend this expansion just after you get the 3 other small box expansions, in my opinion. So what did I like about this? So first and foremost, I love, stinking love the 2 new characters, Sparrows and whatever his name is, Zazos. I really like their special ability, especially Sparrow. She's gonna be turning all those breaches, and then once all the breaches are open, she's just gonna be like, boom, yes, load up your spells, grab your cards, and I love that. I think that's really cool. And I like how she has like a different arc. Like she starts off just help, and then like towards the end it's like, yes, unleash the fury. And everybody's like, we gotta get her charges so we can load up these spells and we can shoot them off. I really like that. And then I really like Zazos. And I really just like how he does a little bit of everything. And I'm a big fan of characters that do a little bit of everything. He doesn't have one special focus that he's going to do, but his charges are cheap, and he gets to trash, and he gets to gain, he gets to focus, and he gets to gain charges. And I just really like his character. I like the fact that it only costs you 4 charges, and as soon as you get that, you're immediately going to gain one of those charges back. Because that's one con that I have with Aeon's End that I don't think I've ever mentioned, is the fact that a lot of times you'll sit there with your charges full, waiting to use that special ability, waiting for that perfect time to use that special ability. Whereas with Zazos, it's like, yeah, as soon as I get it, I'm going to use it. As soon as I get it, I'm going to use it. As soon as I get it, I'm going to use it. And I like that a little bit better. I also am a big fan of the Knights of Shackles. I think that's a fantastic new bad guy into the game as well. I think it's one of those bad guys that you can, even when you're teaching the game, I think you could easily use him because he's very simple, very straightforward. So I'm a big fan of him as well. I also like the bad guys in their decks as well. They have some really cool bad guys, and also the artwork's really fun as well. But that's my thoughts on Aeon's End the Void. It's a good expansion for Aeon's End, but I will say it's my least favorite out of the 4 small box expansions. So personally, I would get those 3 before I went to this one, but this one, you still can't go wrong. It still has 2 fantastic new characters. Love those new characters. So check that one out after you check out the other 3, at least in my personal opinion. If you enjoyed this review, please try to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, what is your favorite mechanism in games? For me personally, I love me some deck builder, I love me some social deduction, but I think it's still worker placement. I really wish there was a social deduction worker placement. I want like a meaty, chunky, 1.5 to 3 hour social deduction worker placement game where the tension is palpable and you can cut the tension with a nice knife, but it's still at the same time it's just like a worker placement Euro style game. I think that would be fantastic. Let me know if that's out there actually if you know about it. But let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite mechanism? And as always, why am I still holding this? Thanks for your time, YouTube.